Book Break. Today I am joined by Natalie Haynes, the author of The Children of Jocasta, which is a retelling of the Greek myth of Oedipus, but from the perspective of Jocasta and Ismene, so a little bit different.
It is different, yeah.
Female perspective.
Because it's only when you get there, and I had read it, you know, as you must have, when I was a teenager, and I was doing A-level Greek. And I didn't notice then that Ismene gets 120 lines in the play.
Wow.
And Ismene gets 60 in Antigone. And I had always thought, had managed to get through the majority of my life thinking that Antigone is the lead in Antigone because it's called Antigone, but she has 2/3 the number of lines of her uncle of Crayon.
I've never even thought about that.
It's only when you actually sit down with a pencil and a ruler and count them up, you realise that these women are not sidelined exactly, but that the versions that we have don't have as much of them in as they easily could do, because other versions have been lost, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
You know.
We're missing so much of the different stories. I know. you never know. I always like to hope
there's trouble, hopefully.
Yeah,
the Oxyrhynchus boxes.
Exactly. There's some
more.
papyri in there. There's a whole new Sophocles play, some Aristophanes. You never know.
Yeah, the Aristotle treatise on comedy.
Exactly.
Finally, the high art.
You never know. There could be a version that comes out and it's eerily close to what you've written.
Do you know what? Just looking at the fragments after I had written it, which I think I must have read long ago and then just kept in my brain.
Yeah.
But there are all kinds of things which I thought as I was writing, I was like, this is such a change, people will be really appalled that I've done it. And then discovered, no, that's fine. Yeah. So in my version, Laius, who is the king of Thebes at the start of the backstory of the Oedipus play, in my version he is sexually quite ambiguous, but very much more interested in men than women. Without the anachronisticness of calling him gay, because of course the Greeks had much more fluid ideas of sexuality, as indeed we're coming back to now, it turns out, or recreating now. And then I discovered there was a myth which I genuinely don't think I'd come across before, where he had abused the bonds of guest friendship by staying with a friend and raping that friend's son.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my, I accidentally written this thing. So
something about the character just manifested that way for you as well.
Yeah, and I think there are 40 lines of Euripides' version of the Antigone which survive. And I must have known and had forgotten that actually what I have done, spoiler, in my book is astonishingly close to what Euripides did with his version of the story. So yeah, there it is.
Timeless.
I know.
They just make sense.
But that's the thing, you think they're inevitable, and it's a question that journalists have been asking me about this book is, you know, how do you retell a story where it's so inevitable? It's like, it's Sophocles who makes you think that this has to happen, this has to happen. It doesn't. You know, the earliest version of the Oedipus myth is in the Odyssey. It's in book 11 of the Odyssey. It's 10 lines, and in that version, the blinding, which is so integral to what we think he does, doesn't happen. Yeah,
the tragedians can be so experimental. It's like with Medea. That's always the Euripides version is one everyone knows.
It. The fact that she kills her children deliberately.
Exactly.
Before that, it's like she does it by accident. She's trying to protect them. The Corinthians do it in an act of revenge, but he is the one who sees that true tragedy comes from, you know, if a woman does something terrible knowingly, that's where it is. And of course he's right, but yeah, you're right. We all think that's just the version of it.
I was actually curious to know why you picked the myth of Oedipus to retell.
I think because I had just thought for such a long time that Jocasta deserved to have her story told, and I was kind of surprised to see that
it hadn't happened.
And it just seemed to me she was it is such an extraordinary thing. The best case scenario you could say for her is that she undergoes an arranged marriage, and it would be more accurate probably to say of virtually all marriages in the ancient world that they were forced marriages on both sides, you know, not necessarily just at the expense of women. And so it's like, well, you know, imagine being told that this terrible prophecy lies ahead of you, and how you deal with that. And the Sophocles play, she's so godless. It's so shocking, you know, that she is in the 5th century, because of course that's the kind of layers of interpretation that you have to bear in mind, is that this is, I hope, a sort of 21st century because it's focused on the women, a 21st century reading of a 5th century version of a 12th, 13th century set myth. So there's a lot of layers of things lurking within it, but it's like, to be told that your child must die on the day that you have that child because of the terrible future it has ahead of it, and what she would go through just seemed to me so interesting.
Really humanising.
Right, and also it's bothered me for ages that all the way through the brilliant Oedipus Tyrannus, the Oedipus the King, Sophocles play, people tell you how clever he is. He's so smart, Oedipus, and that's his fatal flaw. You know, he's quick-witted, but it shades into quick temper.
Yeah.
And yet she works out what's happened
Before he does.
so much sooner than he does. So much sooner that she has had time to wreak a terrible destiny herself by the time he works out what's happened.
Yeah.
And it's like we're told over and over again by everybody, he's so smart, he's so smart. Who's the smart one? She is. Because this is no longer a drama, because this is now a novel, they can have inner lives.
Yeah.
And so you can fill in all these gaps
Yeah.
that and you're like, oh no, that will be so cool, that I'll be able to make my own version of sense of why somebody would behave in this way.
One of my favourite things about the story, actually, and I don't know if you'd intended this from the beginning or not, was kind of how you've removed the mythological elements.
Yes.
And made it possible and realistic.
Yes.
But in an ancient setting.
Yes.
I was wondering.
That felt like quite a tightrope to walk throughout it. Certainly when I gave my mum the early draft as I was going along, she's like, the Sphinx isn't a Sphinx. I can't make this better for you. It just isn't. I'm so
I love
sorry.
that about it.
I thought it was really ordained. I was like, this is brilliant. My mum was like, are you sure? I was like, might not be brilliant. But I stuck with it because I did want it to feel I didn't want to take the gods out of it because it felt too anachronistic.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to be that those questions exist so much in the Sophocles play, where, you know, Jocasta says to Oedipus, you can't believe prophecies, it's all nonsense. You know, I was once told this prophecy that my son would grow up to kill his father and marry his mother, and that didn't happen, so it's all that you should definitely never believe it. And then when the moment of crisis comes, she turns to the oracle. The kind of thought she should exist in that sort of skeptical sense, but the idea of adding in monsters as well as gods, it just seemed it made it too fantastical, and I wanted it to be more realistic.
Yeah, well, you clearly know your stuff when it comes to classics and ancient history, so I have got Elle, who is my digital team companion, to make us up a game.
Brilliant.
So I might put 60 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
And see who can get the most.
All right.
We have a bowl full of Greek gods and heroes, potentially mythological creatures.
Exciting.
Without using the words on the piece of paper, try to articulate them to one another. Would you like to go first?
Yes.
As the guest. On the clock, get ready and go.
Messenger god, Greek.
Hermes.
Gorgon, Medusa, Clash of the Titans, the hero.
Perseus.
Yep. Patron goddess of wisdom and defensive war.
Athena.
And has an owl. Marries Cupid.
Psyche.
Yep. Theseus is first.
Ariadne.
Girlfriend. Yep. Be tactful. God of healing.
Asclepius.
Yep. I know him better from Shakespeare, but that doesn't help you at all. But his name if you took the O off if you added an O to the start of his name, you would get a plant. I'm going to stop. It's too difficult. Right, I'm giving up. Leander was the answer. God of wine.
Dionysus.
Other way.
Bacchus. Yes. I feel like I'm not sure.
I'm letting you have that.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 7.
Right, okay. We ready?
Yes.
Okay, start.
It's going well.
God of the sea.
Poseidon.
Yes. One eye.
Cyclops. Polyphemus.
Yes. Brother of Artemis.
Apollo.
Sister of Apollo.
Artemis. Or Diana. Let's mix things up.
Yeah. I know, that's interesting. Brother of Epimetheus. Gave man fire.
Prometheus.
That would have been more. I keep going for siblings. Prince of Troy, but not Paris.
Hector.
Flew into the sun.
Icarus.
7?
Someone's going to steal our lunch money. That's who we are.
I like it though. We've come even. There's no winners. Everyone's a winner.
Everyone's a winner.
That's
Classics
the best
is
way
the
to.
winner.
Yes, classics is the winner.
Classics is the winner.
Well, if you're feeling like you need a little bit more Greek myth in your life, there is, of course, the book, and you can find out what actually happens in Jocasta and Ismene's versions of the story.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, do you have any plans for more Greek myth retellings in the future?
I do.
Yes?
I do,
Any
yeah.
spoilers?
The
Or are they
next
hush
one
hush?
will be Troy.
Troy, okay.
So wait and
Interesting. Could be a lot of possibilities there.
There are a lot of possibilities.
Oh, well, I'll look forward to it. Thank you so much for being on Book Break this week.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.